Welcome to the Fantasy Theory Podcast, bringing it in for the real thing. Today, we're going to be talking about ADP differences between sites that you draft on and what you can do to take advantage of not only those sites, but also your league mates, of course. We would normally start with the news, but man, there's not a lot. J.D. McKissick put on some weight so that he can get more involved. A couple of defensive tackles got signed. Yeah, man, I mean, that's really about it. We're not going to get into the Richard Sherman thing. We'll leave that alone. Tom Brady apparently played the whole year with a torn MCL. He actually lost 80% of the vision in both of his eyes before the start of the year. His right arm needed to be surgically reattached before the start of each game. So, yeah, I mean, just a really impressive year from him, given that he's clearly dying, and just, God bless him for really persevering, pushing through all that adversity. Fucking Tom Brady, man, come on. Torn MCL the whole year. Yeah, casually won a Super Bowl. Actually, my leg was about to fall off all year. It was crazy. But just that much better than everybody, I suppose. So in lieu of the NFL news, you're going to get to hear about my week since the last time we talked. Friday, unfortunately, was a big hot nothing. Just woke up feeling not great, Bob. Not great at all. I legitimately did not get out of bed until almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Just absolutely feeling not sick or anything. Just not good. Just not good. So to make the most of my time, went ahead and turned on 2 separate Fast and Furious movies, 7 and 8. Thank you very much. Watch those, just hanging out, just recuperating. And then Saturday we actually went and saw Fast 9. And each progressive Fast and Furious movie has gotten more ridiculous. From the first one where they're just kind of robbing semi-trucks on the highway and like jumping from car to car to steal DVD players and stuff, like to where we are now is so absurd. I don't want to spoil anything for you. So if you haven't seen Fast 9, or if you are deeply concerned with the outcome of Fast 9 and you don't want spoilers, go ahead and don't listen to the next 30 seconds. If you do want spoilers, it's not even spoilers really. It's not even really spoilers. It's just some nonsense. And you've probably seen it online already anyway, but they're coming up in a second. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie, put it on mute for 30 seconds or skip ahead 30 seconds. But for those of you that want to hear about the nonsense, they drove a car into space. They legitimately drove a Pontiac Fiero into outer space. So that's where we're at. Yeah. All right. So, went and saw Fast 9. I mean, it's an action movie. It's got John Cena in it, and that's fun. It was fine. It was just we take progressive leaps. 6 is crazier than 5. 7 is crazier than 6. 8 is crazier than 7. 9 is absolute Looney Tunes compared to number 8. We took a real big leap. And if the craziness of Fast 9 isn't enough for you, I know last week I talked about hockey and a little bit of baseball with the Rays and stuff, but let's talk a little bit about basketball, which I don't follow at all. And Suns and 4 not looking too good, huh? The Bucks making a 3-0 comeback after being down 0-2 on the verge of clinching it here tomorrow night. Ooh, that's exciting enough. I might tune in just to watch that. Ooh. Be not the biggest collapse. I mean, you have to go from 3-0 to 0-4 to be the biggest collapse, but still, starting 2-0 and then losing 4 straight, that ain't what you want. That ain't what you want after the Suns been crushing people. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get into the actual show here. The ADP differences based on the site that you're drafting on. I made an absolutely beautiful spreadsheet for you guys to look at, if I do say so myself. So I'll switch you over to that real quick here. Bam! Oh my goodness, you love to see it. All right, so what we've got here, we've got each individual player. I think it went down to like 300 between all of these. And the ADPs of ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, Sleeper, Fantasy Pros, and Underdog. Then I've got the average of each of those sites. And then just to the right of that, you'll see the highest ADPs that any site has for the player and the lowest ADP that any site has for the player. And then the furthest right column is the difference. And what that's going to be is the difference between the lowest ADP and the average. So I've changed this a couple of times to look at the difference between ESPN and the average, and all of that type of stuff to see where each individual site ranks. So that one I can kind of interchange as we need to as we're going through. But essentially, it's just a way to get a look and see where the way it's sorted right now, or the way that the formula is set up right now, is to see who's got the widest variation from the average draft position based on all of this to whoever has the lowest ADP on that person. So, for example, if we just sort this here real quick. So you see this first group here, everybody in green is within 4 picks of the average. So, for example, Chase Claypool, on average, 74th overall. The lowest ADP that anybody's got him is 78th overall. So all very much in line with kind of where he's going. The further down that we get, the yellow moves out to about 12 picks. So this is, a full round. And then the red is more than that. Anything more significant than that. For example, like Will Fuller. The lowest ADP for him, CBS, 114 overall. The average, 95. So, that's a little bit more than a full round there difference that you're getting. So, essentially, the exercise we're going to go through here is to kind of point some people out that are wildly different from one site to another, so that if you're doing your mock drafts on Sleeper, for example, right, or you're doing your best ball drafts on Underdog Fantasy, or you're using the mock draft wizard on Fantasy Pros, or you're doing your mock drafts on ESPN, wherever it is that you're drafting, if the people that you draft with, or the site that you're going to draft on for your actual redraft leagues, if they're different, you're going to see wildly different values. So, if the people that you're drafting with, let's say, just for an example, let's say you do your mock drafts on Sleeper, right? You're going by their ADP. So the people that they suggest are the people that are closest in ADP to your pick according to just them. So when it comes time for your redraft league and you sign into ESPN, you're going to see, somebody that you're used to being gone in the 4th round that's still waiting there at the back of the 5th for you. And you're going to be like, what is going on? Or vice versa. They could be higher on ESPN, and somebody that you're used to taking at the back of the 5th, that guy's going in the middle of the 4th. And you're like, oh my God, I always get whoever at the end of the 5th. This is ridiculous. People are reaching. It's ridiculous. So you need to know that if you're going to be drafting on a certain platform, get to know that ADP and the differences between the players that you like and where they're going on that ADP. Or if you're drafting in person, which I certainly recommend, know your league mates. What kind of, whose cheat sheet are they printing out, right? If somebody's printing out Matthew Berry's top 300 and just kind of crossing off names on that, know the people that you can take advantage of. If somebody's like, yeah, we got Will Fuller pulled up here, 86th overall. And since my brain doesn't work the way that I can say 86, yeah, that's whatever round. Bam, handy dandy cheat sheet here too. Yes. So Will Fuller, 86 overall. So he's going at the start of the 8th round, according to ESPN ADP, right? Where's he going? Somewhere else. Let's say you're doing your drafts on CBS. Well, he's going 114th overall on CBS, so they're not even going to suggest him to you at the start of the 8th round here. They're going to tell you when you're getting into the middle of the 10th round is when Will Fuller's supposed to go if you're drafting on CBS, for example. So that's the kind of thing that you need to know. If Will Fuller is somebody that you want, you're going to need to take him a little bit sooner if you're drafting on ESPN than you're used to if you're going by CBS draft order, that type of thing. So I've got a couple of people picked out here, and I very cleverly put it in a column that's just to the right of this difference column, so you can't see it, but man, I've got all my notes here. Yes, so smart. Hid them from you. All right, so I'm actually going to sort it by my notes. Bam! All right, so these top, 19? All the way down to Darren Waller I've got notes on, so let's just kind of run through these guys here real quick. So, boy, where to start? How about with Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones is one that really jumped out to me. It's funny, a lot of my notes start with CBS, because CBS ADPs are wildly different than ADPs anywhere else, really. So, like Aaron Jones, CBS, they have him number 6. Yahoo and Sleeper have Aaron Jones in the first round. Nobody else has him in the first round. And CBS has him number 6. It's a little too rich for my blood on Aaron Jones, man. I mean, you got so many people that would be going after him. Let's sort, just real quick, let's sort by CBS, right? Let's see who's going after him. So Aaron Jones at 6. We got Devontae Adams and Austin Eckler right after him. I mean, I'm going to probably be taking Aaron Jones over Devontae Adams would be my guess. Austin Eckler, I would probably take, I guess, if it's PPR, you're taking Austin Eckler over Aaron Jones for sure. If it's non-PPR, then I think it's a lot closer. But then you've got like Jonathan Taylor behind Aaron Jones. I don't agree with that. They've got Patrick Mahomes at 11. I mean, this is one note that I've got here is this is the difference between paid and unpaid leagues. People that are drafting on CBS are messing around. You're going to see Patrick Mahomes go first overall in some of these drafts. You're going to see that on ESPN too. You'll see it anywhere where you're not paying to do your drafts with other people. So that's why I think Sleeper is definitely the place. Sleeper and Fantasy Pros, I think, are two really good places to do your mock drafts. Underdog, when you're doing the best ball drafts where they're paid, people are taking them significantly more seriously. But like CBS, Yahoo, and ESPN, not as serious. I mean, you'll see number 13 on Yahoo, number 17 on ESPN. There's no shot that Patrick Mahomes should be going in the second round. Like, get these ADPs out of here. Ridiculous. Anyway, back to specifically Aaron Jones. Ezekiel Elliott at 12. Nick Chubb at 13. Saquon Barkley at 14. Like, no, man. These people should all be ahead of Aaron Jones. Get out of here. So if you're somebody that likes Aaron Jones and you're drafting on CBS, you're not going to get him. You're not going to get him unless you really, really reach for him. And I just would not recommend that. The plus side of that, though, is that's one more person that's going ahead of somebody that you like better. So by the time it gets to you, somebody's going to fall just a bit further. Just a bit further, an extra person going, if you expect Aaron Jones to go 13, 14, 15 and he goes 6, well, that pushes everybody else down. So somebody that you probably thought you didn't have a shot at, maybe you have a better shot at now. So that's always nice. How about some huge differences here? So like Deontay Johnson, the highest that anybody's got him is the Fantasy Pros ECR at 43. Oh boy, how do numbers work? There it is. It's 43. So that's the middle of the 4th round. Okay. That's about where you generally see him. Your underdog fantasy, he's going 50, right in that same range within a couple of picks. ESPN, a little bit later, a full round later, as a matter of fact, at 55. But then you go to crazy old CBS again. They have him at 79. Sleeper, they've got him at 92. 92. Let's look at this real quick. So on the Fantasy Pros ECR and Underdog Fantasy, right, he's going somewhere between 43 and 50. So the middle of the 4th to the very, very start of the 5th. Now, if you're drafting on Sleeper, you're going to be under the assumption that you can get Deontay Johnson in the goddamn 8th round. No shot. No shot, guys. So this is the kind of like real glaring differences. And these are outliers. They're usually within a round or so of each other, not 4 rounds. Good Lord. So these are things to know. Like if you're going to be drafting on Sleeper, just know that you don't need to take Deontay Johnson if you're that particular type of knucklehead that's going to take Deontay Johnson to begin with. You don't need to take him in the 4th round, start of the 5th round. On Sleeper, his name's not going to pop up for people until the 8th round. So, if you want to take him, middle or end of the 5th, start of the 6th, something like that. I mean, that's a reach according to Sleeper, but hey, you can get your mans if you want to. And I mean that kind of value, if you are drafting on Sleeper and he falls, a round and a half or so, like that 4th round value, I can't do it for Deontay Johnson. You guys know I don't like Deontay Johnson, but if I can get him, at the back of the 5th or the start of the 6th, then I start to get a little bit more interested in that. Because for Deontay Johnson to be my wide receiver 2. Or God forbid my wide receiver 1 if I start, 2 running backs and a tight end, something like that. I don't feel good enough about him in that position. But if he's my 3rd wide receiver or my flex or something like that, I'm feeling way, way better about that. I feel like I can rely on him more for that type of thing. So that's where, you need to stay flexible with the way that your draft is falling to you. Like, I don't know if there's ever been an episode. I mean, we spent 5 or 6 minutes with me telling you about Deontay Johnson and how he could be great. And then I kind of pooped all over him again like I like to do. But, if he's fallen to you, in the back of the 5th, start middle, end of the 6th even, something like that, I'm probably okay with him there. So something to know is that, even though I say I don't like Deontay Johnson, it's all about the draft capital that you're spending. At a certain point, everybody I would love to have on my team. I'd love to have every single person in the NFL on my team for the right price. And for Deontay Johnson, that price is a late 5th, early 6th for me. Not an early 4th or a mid 4th. No, sir. Somebody else, a little bit lower stakes, but Melvin Gordon. I mean, his difference is remarkable. Like on Sleeper, 62 overall. That's the highest on him, or the highest on him. And then you've got all the way down at 122 on Underdog. Like 62. Bam. Right? So he's going at the start of the 6th round on Sleeper. And he's going at the start of the 11th round on Underdog. So a lot of that difference, of course, Underdog is not the same type of league. Let's get actually over here to Melvin Gordon. Let's highlight him. Boop, talking about Melvin Gordon. Underdog, obviously a different type of league, being best ball. So people are taking, Javonte Williams much, much higher and not really expecting Melvin Gordon to be the type of person that you want in a best ball league. And that's fair enough. All the rest of the sites are fairly in line. I mean, ESPN is way off of Sleeper at, 32 picks later. So yeah, if you think Melvin Gordon is going to start the year and gradually cede the role to Javonte Williams, like I think is the most likely scenario. Like all this talk about Javonte Williams being the lead back from week 1 and Melvin Gordon's going to be a backup and a handcuffed, like that's nonsense to me. That's just nonsense. Here's one where generally both of the redraft leagues that I do are on ESPN. And that's my favorite platform. Honestly, it's the one that I started with. So, you always have an affinity for like the first thing that you played on. And ESPN was that for me. I like ESPN. Not so much a fan of Sleeper. I absolutely hate Yahoo so much. God, I hate Yahoo so much. But by and large, I play on ESPN for these redraft leagues, and I think most of the people in those leagues, they follow ESPN, pick orders pretty closely. So David Montgomery is the next one I'd like to highlight. So The highest ADP is 32 for CBS. They've got him going inside the third round. A little too high for David Montgomery. I like David Montgomery. A little too high for me. But then most of these other sites, your Underdog, your Fantasy Pros, ECR, and ESPN all have him at 46. So, a full round later than that, going in the fourth, even at the end of the fourth, where, CBS has him going, towards the end of the third. And that kind of value, oh, beautiful. If I can start running back in the first two rounds, take a good wide receiver in round 3, and then still get David Montgomery at the back of the fourth, yeah, I'm all about it. Calvin Ridley, according to Yahoo and CBS, going at the back of the second or even into the third round, according to CBS, that's ridiculous. I definitely see him much, much more often than not going in like the middle of the second. So to see him down with like the Michael Thomases of the world at the start of the third, that's just not going to happen. I feel like that ADP is going to normalize closer to the end or middle of the second. CBS has Michael Thomas going at the start of the fourth round. ESPN's got him going at the start of the third. Chris Godwin, another one. The difference between Yahoo and CBS is pretty stark. 19 picks. CBS has him going at the end of the fifth round. I have literally never seen that. So, yeah, I don't do any of my mock drafting or anything like that on CBS. And these ADPs, like, I double-check them to make sure that they're not, like, months and months outdated. And they're not. They're just so different than the other ADPs that we're looking at here. Another one that really caught my eye here down at the bottom, we'll talk about these two next. Keenan Allen, who they've got going at the back of the third in CBS and Yahoo, and kind of the middle of the third on ESPN. What beautiful value there. My goodness. Absolutely incredible value. So if you're doing a Yahoo or a CBS draft and you can steal Keenan Allen at the back of the third, it's exactly what I said. It's a steal. It's an absolute steal. Darren Waller, at least on Yahoo, is going almost at the back of the third. Darren Waller sometimes doesn't make it out of the second, and if he does, he's going at the very, very start of the third in most drafts that I've seen. He's got the Underdog has him at 21, going just before the end of the second round. ESPN's got him at 24 at the very end of the second round. That is more in line with what I see more often than not. But again, that's the point of this exercise. I don't do drafts on Yahoo. So if I was in a league this year on Yahoo, Darren Waller probably falls further than I'm used to seeing him. And that's something that I need to be aware of, DeAndre Swift on CBS going entirely too high at 18th overall, going 32nd overall on ESPN, 33rd on Fantasy Pros and Underdog. So if you're a fan of DeAndre Swift, you're going to have to reach real far for him. I would not recommend doing that. Please, please, please don't take DeAndre Swift in the second. There are so many better players. Please don't take DeAndre Swift in the second. CBS also has Antonio Gibson going at the back of the third. No, absolutely not. These CBS ADPs, man, like I said, a lot of the notes that I have start with CBS something, something, something. These CBS ADPs they're something else. They are something else. Kyle Pitts in the Fantasy Pros ECR going at the back of the fifth. On ESPN, he's going at the back of the fourth. Yahoo a little behind that. CBS a little ahead of that. So Kyle Pitts, I did a little ranty rant on a couple of episodes ago about how we are drafting him at or even beyond his reasonable ceiling, really. The way that we're drafting him as the fourth tight end off the board, I showed everybody the historical company that he would have to be in order to pay off on that. But again, just like with Deontay Johnson, it's all about the draft price, the capital that you're paying for this man. And if you're playing somewhere where he's going at the back of the fifth, that is so much more reasonable. Because if he does what we expect him to do, or even just a little bit behind that, if you're getting him as the fifth or the sixth tight end off the board, that's so much better because he's got so much more wiggle room to not disappoint you. So a little bonus value in this episode, more than just taking a peek at the differing ADPs here is the lesson that, everybody they say that I love and everybody that I say that I hate is relative to their draft value. So if somebody keeps falling and you've been listening to me and I'm saying, oh no, don't take that guy, don't take that guy, don't take that guy, it's relative to their ADP. And if that drops and he becomes a value, you can absolutely take them. It's like you go to say you go shopping for some clothes. We're not going to name a particular store. Nobody's a sponsor. I'm not giving no free advertisements away. You get out of here with that. So you go to a random clothing store and you're like, ooh, dang, I like these jeans. These are nice jeans. How much are they? Oh, they're $90? No, thank you. They're nice jeans and all. I'm not paying $90 for them. But what's that? Oh, they're on sale? They're half price? All right. Well, now I'm a little bit more interested in the jeans. So when you think, Deontay Johnson, Kyle Pitts, think half price jeans and you're all set. If you take one thing away from here, it's a Deontay Johnson and Kyle Pitts. At a certain point, they're half price jeans. And that's the real lesson. That's the real lesson that everybody needs to learn. Half price jeans. What I'm going to try to do, because I'd hate to promise you this and then be too dumb to figure out how to do it. What I'd like to do is make this chart that I've made here, make it available to you guys to download so you can kind of look through it and get an idea of the varying ADPs and things like that. So you can kind of peruse through here because, we've kind of cherry picked a couple here and there that are ones that caught my eye. But, there's so many different, as we're going through here, there's so many different ones that are way off. Like, Justin Herbert is off by 21 spots, 23 at the highest on CBS. Get out of here with that. To 76 at the lowest on Underdog. And Fantasy Pros ECR is a little lower on them too. Coming down here more, we're looking at Russell Wilson, the quarterbacks, they go way too high on CBS, for crying out loud. Josh Jacobs, more than like a round and a half difference between 30th overall on Sleeper. That's way too high. Middle of the third for Josh Jacobs? Absolutely not. I'm so much more in line with like the Fantasy Pros and the Underdog value on him at 51st and 55th overall. But, ESPN, Yahoo, and CBS, they all, and Sleeper, all have him going into the middle of the third to the very, very start of the fourth. I will never, ever, ever take him there. But again, like I mentioned with Aaron Jones earlier, that just means somebody's taking him instead of somebody else that I like. And so I like that. I love that. Mark Andrews, another one that's going much, much earlier in the ESPN, the Yahoo, and the CBS than he is on Underdog. And that stands to reason. But anyway, I want to make this whole chart available to you guys. So I'm going to try and put the link to the download in the video description so that you can have access to this. You can kind of peruse it at your leisure and see where the differences are, places that you're doing your mock drafts and the values that you're used to. Like for me, it's Underdog and it's the Fantasy Pros Draft Simulator. But if you're doing your mock draft somewhere else and you're used to those values, just see what else is out there. Make sure that you're aware wherever it is, the platform that you're drafting on or the people that you're drafting with, what kind of frame of reference they're going to be using for their draft picks. Sorted by Underdog real quick. Let's say you're doing a bunch of best ball drafts, and on Underdog you're used to Terry McLaurin going around pick 30, right? Seeing Terry McLaurin in the middle of the third round, that's what I'm definitely used to, for sure. But you're doing your draft on CBS, and you take him at 30, oh my God, you're going to get laughed out of the room. Everybody on CBS thinks, Terry McLaurin, he's not supposed to go for another round and a half. What a reach. Reach of the draft. First reach of the draft. Over here, this guy. It's just good to kind of look at these, get a feel for them, so that you'll know where it is that you can get that extra value. If you're used to taking somebody in the fourth, but you're drafting on ESPN and they're not going until the sixth, and you can wait an extra round, get them in the fifth, even if you're quote unquote reaching according to their ADP, that's just their suggestion. So, get your guy and get, somebody else in the fourth that you normally bypass to take the guy that you normally take in the fourth, That's where you can eke out the value. Or know that, if there's somebody that you're used to taking in the fourth and the ADP says that they're going in the middle of the second, just know you're not getting that guy. So don't plan for that, Just stay fluid, adjust to the draft as it falls to you, but before you go in, know you're going to have your cheat sheet, your rankings, your tiers, whatever it is that you like to use. But know, again, the platform that you're either drafting on or the people that you're drafting against, and where you can eke out value based on where they expect people to go, so you can get them around ahead of time and get them on your team, lock them up, or know the landmines that people are going to step on, taking people way, 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 way too early. And that extra value is going to fall to you, and you can kind of draft accordingly as the draft falls to you. I mean, crying out loud, somebody's going to take Aaron Jones at number 6 overall, Patrick Mahomes in the middle of the second round, and then all of a sudden, Calvin Ridley's going to be there waiting for you in the third, and you're going to be like, oh my goodness. Yes, sir. So that'll do it for today. I certainly do appreciate you listening and or watching, and we'll jump back to me. Sorry to deprive you of my too closely shaven face. Oh, goodness sakes. Beard is supposed to be so much more full than this. And I said, you want to know what? Let's take it down a little bit. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Never again. I've said that like 6 or 7 times, and then I'm like, oh, try it. Oh, it wasn't that bad last time. And terrible. Hate it so much. Anyway, here's my stupid face. So thank you very much for listening and or watching. I certainly do appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, got something out of it today, I certainly would appreciate you leaving a big thumbs up on the video or a review on Apple Podcasts. That certainly is the best way for us to continue the podcast growing. It is growing fairly well right now, honestly. Each episode has kind of progressively gotten more downloads. I certainly love to see that. So, I really appreciate each and every one of you that are tuning in and listening and or watching each week. I really, really do appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Get it in the video there. Hit that thumbs up button on YouTube. And like I said before, hit that subscribe button. If you search for us right now, since the channel is still in its infancy, it's not going to come up in a YouTube search. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be able to find your way back. You can always find all of the links in the link tree. linktr.ee/The Fantasy Theory. The website, thefantasytheory.com, Instagram @thefantasytheory, Twitter, fantasytheory1, thefantasytheory 16 characters. Twitter gives us exactly one less than that, so I had to change it up. You hate to see it. And like I said, hopefully I'll get this spreadsheet up there for everybody so you can kind of go through it at your leisure and see the differences from where you're doing your mock drafts to where you're doing your actual drafts, or the people that you're drafting against, what kind of cheat sheets they're going to use, so you can kind of adjust and know where you're going to get those really, really good values that are going to take you all the way to the championship. So that is going to do it for today. Thank you so very much for listening. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.